Hello and welcome back to Minotaur Hotel. We'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is right after the first night with Asterion, after you gave him the wine. So he put on some clothes, but he still looks pretty bad, so let's see what happens. Oh, and Asterion woke up to hearing the noise of a flute. So we'll have to see what that's all about. Dust diamonds float across the room, suspended in time. Merciless daylight pierces the windows. Your mouth is dry, your eyes red. The room is humid and growing hotter under the desert sun. Just outside, you hear the clopping of hooves, very faint but noticeable, as if a certain Minotaur was trying and failing to be quiet. Your phone, now about to run out of battery, says it's 6 a.m. You get up and go out to face the day. Good morning, Master. I hope you slept well. Asterion, what are those clothes you're wearing? It's what I used to wear. They may be a tad big right now, but that won't last. I'll be back to my old shape before you know it. I thought it was inappropriate enough to have spent the whole day naked in your presence, so this morning I set out to clothe myself. Do you like them? Do you like Asterion's clothing? Well, I know how he looks when he's a bit more filled out, so... But right now they are a little bit baggy. Sure, they look great. Absolutely, you look great. That's some real style right there. You are very kind, Master. Shortly after, Asterion summons a simple breakfast for you. Bread, cheese, and fruit. It's all he can offer now, seeing as the kitchen still doesn't have working equipment. You take a seat while Asterion stands, still with his back to the wall, looking at you. So, what do we have to do today? Any chores? There is one, but it is not something Master ought to worry about. The trinket I mentioned last night, the one which can light a pure flame. If Master so wishes, I can search for it, and then we shall be able to restore the hotel. But I can help. It's no trouble. It's not like I have anything else to do while you're busy. I obey the Master's will. Silence hangs around you. The air is heavy as Asterion directs his gaze at you, and the food on the table. This meal of fruit, cheese, and bread is simple. One could say it's bland and boring, but the Minotaur looks at it with a fever befitting of how thin he is. Saliva drips from his half-exposed jaw. He does not notice as the first drops fall to the floor, but once it starts seeping onto his chin fur, he slaps his own cheek to cover the wound. His eye goes wide as he realizes what just happened. Asterion looks to you, frightful of your reaction. It is a sorry sight. His gaze conveys a sense of dread. It would seem he fully expects you to be angry at his appalling behavior. You seem hungry, Asterion. Are you going to eat? I don't mind sharing a meal with you. It is improper for a servant to eat with the Lord. Master need not worry about me. I'll feed after you're done. Is that how the previous masters treated you? Yes, that has been our custom ever since. For many centuries, shall we say. Master Jean-Marie in particular was quite strict with it. He appreciated order and hierarchy. In truth, he would have been appalled had he seen my behavior yesterday, walking around naked, depending on the master for assistance. He was kind, but strict, and at times, he would punish my insubordination quite harshly. After all, how else was I supposed to know what I did wrong? But even then, he was among the kinder masters. Is that really necessary? Couldn't he just talk with you? He believed otherwise. Nonetheless, he had no qualms with treating me well when I exceeded his expectations. The Minotaur shifts on his hooves and looks down. His eye grows duller. He would pet me at times, scratch my chin behind the ear. He could be affectionate, I enjoyed my time with him, I did. He was a fine master for the hotel. It flourished under his rule. That is what matters. I am happy as long as the hotel is doing well, fulfilling its purpose of providing respite to those in need. It is as I said, being locked away did not hurt nearly as much as seeing the place abandoned. Whether the master treats me well or not, ultimately, it matters not. I was sentenced to eternal suffering, and to merely exist as I do now is better than I could have ever hoped for. So, I liked Master Jean Marie. He was a good man. It is not my place to comment upon the master's actions. Master Jean Marie would have been furious had he heard this conversation. I suppose I have been awfully chatty today, have I not? I am sorry for troubling the master. You are not bothering me. I want to know more about you and, well, you are fine company too. I wish you'd sit and share the meal with me, but since that's not something you are willing to do, I enjoy hearing you talk. It is not my place to comment upon your actions, my lord, but with your permission... You nod to the Minotaur. Asterion says nothing more. After you are done with your meal, the Minotaur retreats to the kitchen to wash the dishes. Only afterwards does he eat. He sits on the floor, cross-legged, and eats what remains of the food he summoned you. Even though the kitchen is nothing like the cold stone cell in which you met, the air of despondency which surrounds Asterion is so infectious that it almost appears the same. You watch him take his meal of bread and cheese, slowly, painstakingly, as the very sensation of eating was somehow foreign to him after innumerable decades left to starve. Since he has only half a face, you can see the cross-section of every motion as he bites, chews, and swallows his meager meal, trying his best to find an angle which affords him the dignity of not exposing himself any further. Caught as he is in between the shame of meeting your eyes, the impropriety of turning to avoid you, and the embarrassment of letting you see inside his mouth as he eats, he struggles briefly before resigning himself to the lattermost option. Unsure how to further rouse him from his melancholy, you simply allow yourself to share the silence, awkward though it may be. For several minutes, the only sound that can be heard is your own breathing as well as the occasional splat when the Minotaur misjudges how much room he has to work with, and some half-chewed food falls out through the skeletal side of his maw. However, shortly after Asterion chokes down the last morsel of cheese, a sudden sound snaps you both from the shared isolation. You can hear a flute playing from outside the apartment, piping away a blithely chipper tune. Asterion's ears flick. He looks up to you, notices you heard it too, and freezes. Paleness creeps up his face, drops of sweat fall from his brow as bits of saliva leak from his half-destroyed mouth. What's that? The Minotaur starts shaking. Please don't send me out to the valley. I beg of you. I'm sorry for not mentioning it earlier. I was going to, but I was so afraid. The torturer is down in the valley and will try to bring me out. Please don't send me out. It takes a while to calm the Minotaur, but eventually he takes you to the source of the hauntingly chipper song, all the way down the spiral staircase to the very depths of the hotel. Asterion follows closely behind you, even if, in theory, he should be the one guiding ahead. The song grows louder as you go down. It is carried upwards by a draft coming all the way from below. The bottom floor is bare rock, a vaguely circular gallery with a single exit leading out to the valley. So far, the entire hotel, even if dilapidated, has only given you the impression it was lovingly built. It is not the case for this area at the lowest point. It was precariously carved out of the rock and left behind with an active distaste and carelessness. The sunlight pouring from outside is harsh to your eyes, accustomed as they are to the darkness of the spiral staircase. In contrast, the song has a jolly touch to it, and it continues to throw Asterion into a nearly panicked state. He is there, the foreman of the labyrinth. He is called Argos. He'll hurt me if I go out, but he can't harm the master. The valley is laid out before you, painted in broad strokes of vivid orange, balanced out with blue and golden hues in the sky. It is arid, but there is vegetation here. It is actually a soothing scenery compared to the thoroughly lifeless desert around the hotel. The wind even has a tinge of an early morning humidity. It would be no surprise finding some dew lingering in the bushes. It is quite peculiar. The valley seemed devoid of life when you look down at it from the hotel's lookout, but up close it is quite different. Just ahead are 2 rows of marble statues, each one standing 4 to 5 meters tall, and a single statue of a woman pointing the sword in her hand at the hotel's entrance. The song comes from the statue. You look back to Asterion. You can barely make out the blue flame in the cave's darkness. Praise the Olympians! The bones showed the truth! A new master is upon us! A grey hand grasps the statue's shoulder, and then a serpentine shape emerges and coils around the woman's neck. The wait has been long, my good lord. Oh, how I have anticipated this day, when a human would rise to fulfill the mission bestowed by Athena. I have spent decades lying here in this valley, as interesting as a dung heap, ever since Master Clement left this realm, all by my lonesome. It is as the epic said, servants never do their work when their master's hand is no longer over them, for Zeus takes half the goodness out of the man when he makes a slave of him. Without a master, the Minotaur has failed his duties. The mighty hotel is in disrepair, and the valley's entities have outright vanished. There's no work to do if a master's not around, you see. Only I remain waiting. But that shall change so soon. I feel the earth stirring beneath the statues. Before you know it, the old kin of the gods will be among us once more. Now, my good master, do you know your most faithful follower's name? Has the Minotaur informed you of my pedigree? Master has not offered me a greeting, nor a word of appreciation, so I can only assume the old bull neglects his duties again. You're about to speak up when he interrupts you and continues with his speech. Your face says it all. Very well, allow me to introduce myself. I am Argos, Panoptus, Watcher of the Heifer, Worshipper of the Olympians. My pedigree is unmatched. I was born from the labyrinth itself, and there is no beast capable of evading my tracking. Nor any relic, for that matter. The snake holds a metal object under his arm, a set of bronze mirrors. Oh my, master! My eyes are up here! Your gaze would have me believe my form has caught your attention. Truly, I am a fine specimen, am I not? Or perhaps you are interested in this fine trinket I scavenged? It is a relic from ancient times. It focuses the sun's light into a single beam, generating a pure flame befitting for an offering. It is called the Mirror of Hestia. That's the goddess of the hearth. Keep her appeased, and her blessing will tend to this realm. I found it here in the valley quite a while ago, discarded but not destroyed. I reckon Master Clement threw it off the cliff before his departure. He knew of the mirror's value. Surely he intended to cause harm. I know for a fact this trinket here holds quite the importance up there in that hotel you have. You see, without this, it will remain in a state of disrepair. Only these little bronze dishes can light its sacred hearth. Perhaps it is Master's desire to possess such a thing? Now, it would be my pleasure to be of use, such is my function, to serve the lord of this realm. I shall gladly consider offering it to you, if only Master realizes a very simple request of mine. You'll consider it? Yes, I mean, I will give it. Yes, under one simple condition. It is trivial, insignificant. I merely wish to have 2 minutes with a Minotaur, right here in the valley. Order him to come out and stay for 2 short minutes. I shall not lay a finger on him, that I promise you. I merely wish to become reacquainted with the prisoner. Yeah, fat chance. I'm afraid I can't do that. Now, why would that be? Has the Minotaur slandered my good name? How low of him! They say a coward's liver is pale. Perhaps one day I shall confirm it with my own eyes. Regardless, I would have Master know that I am merely a pious follower of the old ways. There is no reason to doubt my character, assuming, that is, you hold dear the word of the 12 Olympians. My duty is simple. I assist the Master in fulfilling his gods-given task of enacting the Minotaur's punishment. He was, after all, sentenced to eternal damnation. The lords of old were true heroes. They had the iron fist to do what the gods required. But then came the later lineage of weak-willed degenerates with sacrilegious ideas, offering mercy to the damned. Such childish silliness. That one Master Clement, I'd say he was a welcome return to form, but so uncreative. Merely locking the prisoner in a room scarcely compares to the might of olden times. Humans have grown awfully soft over the millennia. It's such a sorry sight. It pains me to think that the heritage of Theseus, Heracles, and Odysseus is wasted. Heroes of old had no hesitation. Heracles' aim was true. With an arrow coated in the Hydra's blood, he cleaved Graeon's skull, the monster of the Red Desert. Silver-tongued Odysseus, hero of Ithaca, blinded the Cyclops Polyphemus with a stake and bathed his palace in blood. And last but not least, Theseus beheaded the Minotaur with Crete's sacred labyrinth. Time and time again, Athenians' heroes prevailed over Poseidon's bestial descendants, good master. The triumph of civilization of mankind over chaos. To this day, we honor Athena's and mankind's triumph here in the glorious realm. The Minotaur was sentenced to damnation, you see, and torturing him is an act of divine worship. Perhaps it is difficult for you to comprehend, fresh as you are in the labyrinth. Suffice it to say, this whole thing, the hotel, is a perversion of the Olympians' will. It was not Athena's wish to bring about mercy to the Minotaur, nor was it her intention that this prison realm be used for leisure. Those weak-willed masters of centuries past corrupted this fine land into a den of degeneracy, all of it accomplished by abusing the laws of the realm. But two can play this game, mind you. If humans will make contracts to push us further from the gods, then I have a proposal for the Master which will bring us closer. In fact, I have a contract for you right here. I can only hope you'll see, soon enough, that the Minotaur you protect is a coward, one who brought about the fall of his land and the end of his lineage. He deserves no mercy, Master. Argos returns to playing his flute. The song washes over the valley like a refreshing rain. He closes his eyes and takes his time, as if insulting your presence. The pelt he wears sways with the wind. I take it that's the pelt of the Minotaur. You hold your ground, looking up to the snake atop the statue. The snake thinks too highly of himself. You've managed teams full of similar people, who believe themselves to be God's gift to the earth. You know just how to make him stumble and make a mistake. What do? This is why I picked leader. Perhaps you can get the better of this smug snake. Argos Panoptis, is it? I must say your words ring well in my ears. I remained silent as you spoke, weighing them, but indeed I understand now that the Minotaur misinformed me. He did tell me he was sentenced to this realm, but not that his tortures were in honor of the old gods. I must admit, knowing this, I would have acted quite differently. I suppose you are right. Humans have gone soft. It is time, perhaps, we return to the proper worship of the old gods. Oh my! You are one of the enlightened ones, are you? Perhaps I misunderstood you as well, good master. I was harsh then for implying you had a soft disposition. I truly must ask your forgiveness for my undisciplined tongue. You are forgiven, Argos. Since you truly are one aligned with the gods, it is important that we start properly. Please, come down so that I may shake your hand. Argos slithers down, twisting and turning with a playful grace. His head perks up too, like a puppy's. What a joyous day! The new master arrives and blesses me with an opportunity to honor him. The gods have sent their glory down to the valley. That is our hope, Argos. It is an honor to meet a faithful servant of the gods. You shake his hand, and he can hardly contain his excitement. Yesterday I did officially take the Minotaur into my service. He pledged an oath to me. I assume the contract you wish me to sign is similar. How about we make this into a proper ceremony? Offer me the trinket and that contract, good snake. Then you shall bow to me, and I will gladly consider signing it. Without saying a word, he bows to you and raises his hands, offering you both the paper and the mirror. You do have excellent manners. I am grateful for your offering, Argos Panoptus. I live to serve the Olympians and their appointed master. It is an honor. Argos hands the parchment to you. It reads, "This document binds the master of the labyrinth and the snake known as Argos Panoptus, henceforth referred to as the foreman, together in an agreement. Article 1. The master leases to the foreman the authority to summon food, water, and shelter, and furniture for use however he sees fit, included for the benefit of the cultivation of crops and raising up animals. In return, the foreman leases the mirror of Hestia for the master's use however he sees fit, including for the benefit and maintenance of the structure known as the hotel, as established in previous contracts. Article 2. The master and the leasee shall refrain from bringing harm to the other, directly and indirectly, by means including but not limited to violence, incentivizing or rewarding third parties towards aggression against the other, sabotaging structures, poisoning food and water, among others. Article 3. The master is forbidden from directly and indirectly interfering with the full enjoyment of the foreman's rights granted under the contract. The foreman is similarly forbidden from bringing harm to the hotel. Article 4. The master is allowed to conduct inspections on the foreman's accommodations, save for the foreman's personal quarters, whose access is forbidden. The foreman is forbidden from conspiring against the master and shall not use the rights granted by this contract to bring him harm. The master and foreman are systematically bound by this article, including but not limited to not using Hestia's mirror to bring harm to the foreman. Article 5. This contract is self-enforcing. If any of its articles are broken, then the possession of Hestia's mirror reverts to the foreman and any flame lit by the mirror is put out. At the same time, the foreman loses the rights transferred by the contract, and any and all structures summoned by him cease to exist after a 10-minute interval to allow for evacuation. Article 6. This self-enforcing contract is made effective at the moment of its signing and remains valid during the master's reign and until the following master acquires the hotel's deed. By the will of the master to whom the Olympians' reign over the realm was granted, this contract is established." Now what's this? It says here that by signing this contract, I allow you to enter the hotel's boundaries. That, just like I can inspect your accommodations, you'd be able to inspect the hotel. That is not what you described to me just a minute ago, Argos. I know for a fact you are not allowed to come in. Argos's posture shifts from the graceful bow to a stiff, shaky one. Were you perhaps trying to trick me? Now that is awfully underhanded of you. I took you for an honorable follower of the gods. I am very sorry, but I cannot sign this contract. Alas, this is a pity. Well, you offered me the trinket in exchange for my consideration, so it belongs to me now. I wish you a good day, Argos. Perhaps next time you won't attempt to trick your lord. Without a second thought, focusing only on containing the large smirk plastered on your face, you turn to go back inside. Wait, master! This is a mistake! I offered you the wrong parchment. Here, this is the right one. Please reconsider. Don't go! I really am your follower. I am honored. Please. I am so hungry. You have left a sour taste in my mouth, Argos. Make yourself useful to me and come back later with a proper agreement. Perhaps I will reconsider it. No promises, however. Chapter 4: Rekindling the Holy Flame. The cave swallows you back into the hotel's depths, a velvety darkness to which your eyes struggle to adapt. Your breathing and footsteps echo all the way up the spiral staircase. Your shadow extends long into the chamber, turning irregularly over the floor's jagged rocks. As your eyes settle down, you gaze upon it, at how gargantuan it is. The shadow of a man. Asterion's sitting against one of the chamber's walls, looking at you and at the beast stretching from your feet. The fire in his eyes flicker at you. I got the mirror. Now we can get the hotel back and running, right? You hand it down to Asterion. His fingers graze and curl softly over the bronze, and then he takes it from your hand with a ceremonial grace and cradles it against his chest. You take a good look at Asterion. His fur and shirt are matted with sweat despite the chamber's somewhat chilly temperature. His tail swishes behind them like a rowdy sea. I am sorry for not informing you earlier of the foreman. I am truly sorry. I don't know what came over me, Master. Don't worry about that. It was no trouble at all. He wanted me to send you out, but I wasn't going along with that, so we had to figure it out another way. He wanted food, water, and shelter, but I managed to trick him. Got him to hand me the mirror for nothing at all. If he wants me to sign the contract, he'll have to make himself useful. Yes, that is usually what he asks. The snake, he is an old thing from the labyrinth. His shape changes every now and then. He disappears for a few years at a time, even decades. But the foreman has existed for a millennia now. His role, too, is to torture me. Thank you. Asterion hugs the mirror. His fingers brush against its surface, teasing out the sharp cold of the metal. He holds it against his chest like something dearly precious. Well then, shall we go back up? Yes, sir. Pardon my slowness. I am feeling a bit nauseous. This all left me in a panic. Oh, I can wait. You sit down beside Asterion, taking a position quite distant from his, sitting cross-legged in contrast with his knees up. So, did he hurt you back then? Is that why you're afraid of him? He doesn't usually hurt me. He plays games to terrorize me, more often than not, and he sends out worse things to get me. There are horrible things out there, creatures made by the gods themselves. Argos must be one of them, just gifted with more intelligence than bloodlust. The valley is beautiful, isn't it, Master? It is a sight to behold. But to me it is terrifying. A beautiful place can be hell too. For millennia, I was tortured there. Just being down here makes me sick. Master, would you allow me to speak frankly? You don't have to ask my permission like that. If you want to speak, do it. I am giving you my permission to speak to me freely, whenever you want. Your words cut through the gallery around you, and you hear the now familiar hum coming from the staircase. The world itself shudders in response, as if your words took root and shifted it forcibly. The Minotaur takes notice of this bone-chilling change around the both of you. You are quite lenient as far as masters go. There weren't many who ever allowed me such freedom. Ironically, Master Clement was one of the few who did. But that is not what I meant to say. The Minotaur takes a deep breath and averts his gaze from you. Please, never send me out to the valley. I will do anything for you, anything at all. Just don't ask me to do this one thing. You may punish me however you want if I do something wrong, even if I do everything right too. I will take anything. Just please, don't make me go out. I promise to never send Asterion to the valley. Asterion, look at me. I promise I will never send you out. I can't say I know exactly what they did to you out there. I understand if you don't want to talk about it. But I'll take your word and I won't send you out. I meant what I said last night. I want to be a good master to you in the hotel. I won't hurt you, and I promise I will never send you out. Asterion looks at you with a half-closed eye. Nausea still twists inside of him, and he sways back and forth as if pushed and pulled by the sea's waves. Your words are sweet as honey. A veil of lead falls on the Minotaur. His back gives out, and he curls forward, still holding the mirror against his chest. He rests his horns on his knees and lets out a rumbling sigh from the depths of his lungs. Are you feeling alright? I'm just so tired. We can stay here a little while longer. Take your time. Asterion groans again. I'm gonna comfort him. You lay an arm over Asterion's shoulder. Asterion tenses when you touch him, but it lasts only a moment. You catch him turning his head slightly to his right, towards you. He responds with a long, deliberate blink, followed by his shoulders relaxing under your arm. Asterion is surprisingly warm. His messy fur doesn't do much to contain his body heat. He leans his head onto your arm, taking care not to lay his horn on you. There's half a foot separating the two of you. You scoot closer to him. He looks at you again and something sparks in his eye. It's starvation for human touch. Asterion has spent decades locked away in the dark room, going hungry and thirsty, becoming emaciated year after year. You have fed him, clothed him, and tended to his wounds, but a new form of hunger rears its head now, and there is no way he can hide it. Now that you are close, he leans his weight on your shoulder and closes his eye. You pull him closer, accepting all the exhaustion in his bones. At times, you feel his eye opening again, shifting to and fro. He wants your warmth, but struggles to give in fully. The battle keeps raging inside of him, and the side remaining close to you wins out. Asterion mentioned that Master Jean-Marie used to pet him behind his ear. Now he has only one, but the way he flicks it at you has an inviting quality. You pet him and he melts on you, nuzzling like a child. Your chest rumbles with a deep sigh that drips out from his throat. You let him doze off on your shoulder for as long as he wants. Eventually, Asterion signals to you that he's ready to make his way back upstairs. You have to stop a few times to let Asterion rest, but eventually, you do make it up to the ground floor and to the lounge. Within the old lounge, glorious and eaten away by time, you and Asterion find a soot-covered hearth right across from the bar. It is circled by a set of armchairs. Their leather has cracked and dried, but no amount of damage can hide the talent with which they were made. Sunlight falls in front of the hearth, coming from the tall glass windows of the lounge. Asterion kneels before the hearth in a prayer-like position. He lays the mirror aside for a moment and summons logs of wood and fine dried hay. Then he places the hay at the mirror's focal point. The beam of focused sunlight heats up the hay. You and Asterion wait. Decades ago, had the fire gone out, I would have been punished. Tending to it was one of my many duties, and failing to do so was one of the gravest mistakes I could make. Once it is lit again, the hotel will come back to life. This realm is quite unlike the world outside, is it not? It is hard for me to even remember what it was like even when I was alive. Back home, when I was just a boy, I went out hunting for wild goats with one of my brothers, finding our own food and bringing it back home. Our father would take me out to the fields. People believed that I would bring them luck and good harvest. Food is harvested or hunted, wood is chopped down, homes are built with sweat and stone. But this world operates under different rules. The gods built the world where we were born knowing well that we were fated to toil and suffer. Such is the fate of man. While you live, shine, have no grief at all. Life exists only for a short while, and time demands its due. The gods appreciated the suffering of mortals, so they chose instead not to bind this realm by the same rules. If one wishes to inflict pain, he must chop down a tree and work the wood into a spear, then mine and refine the metal for its head. But here my jailer could summon and break and summon spears to his heart's content. Why waste time working the land when he could so easily summon all the food his body craves? so too could he bend the rules of life and space itself, the architecture of reality. The Master's will is sovereign. As Asterion speaks, the hay twists as it dries further and darkens and emits a fine smoke. The pure flame will soon be at hand. The gods, however, seldom grasp human ingenuity. Change confuses them. They would gladly go by centuries without changing, repeating the same days forever and ever. I saw that with my own eyes. I may be a monster, but I am half human. Change comes easily to me as well. I have shifted with each century, adapting to my master's will, doing whatever it took. A sliver of fire rises from the hay. Asterion picks it up, not caring for whether or not he gets burned, and places it between the logs. You have kindness in you. But human ingenuity at times goes too far. There are things the hotel cannot accomplish, no matter how much one tries. Man cannot be made immortal, for starters. The gods would not have been so lenient. Neither can the dead be brought back. The hotel will not make gold or silver in large quantities, and it will never print currency. Most important of all, the realm needs precise instructions on what it is intended to fabricate. As powerful as the master may be here, he can never be made into a god. That is a fundamental rule of the labyrinth. A pure fire, fitting for the gods. The gods are gone. From the stories guests have told over the centuries, it seems to me that the world outside was well on its way to leaving myth and magic behind. But their power lingers. An offering to them may still be heard, and the labyrinth will never let go of those fundamental rules. A man remains a man. While you live, shine, have no grief at all. Life exists only for a short while, and time demands its due. Have you listened to the song before, Master? I heard a woman from Ephesus sing that. She said her husband wrote it for her when she died. A lot of people took to singing it down there, whether in Elysium or Tartarus. Life is short, for some more than others. It ought to be enjoyed. Whoever bequeathed you the hotel's deed gave you a gift greater than any fortune. This place and I will tend to your needs. You can live a blessed life, and if you allow this place to fulfill its mandated purpose, to give respite to those lost and wandering, it will give your life meaning as well. Even an existence as wretched as mine can have beauty, my lord. I do not quite know why I am telling you all this. I suppose I miss talking, and I feel so nervous all of a sudden. Don't worry about that. I like listening to you. This is fine, you know, talking like this in front of the fire. I can't say I've fully figured out how this hotel works and what's going on, but this is a nice moment, don't you think? Yes, it is indeed. The flame looks like an ordinary flame, but something in it pulls your attention to it. For a long time, hours, maybe, you and Asterion gaze at it. At the back of your mind, you can hear the hotel's creaking and twisting, furniture dragging itself here and there, fabric ripping and sewing itself back up. You can, just out of the corner of your vision, notice the lounge remaking itself. The sun drags itself through the sky. At some point, a vague shape materializes between you and Asterion, and a wine bottle. The Minotaur is just as sluggish as you, but he manages to pick it up and open it. He offers the bottle to you before taking a sip himself, but you let him have all of it. Much like last night, he drinks directly from the bottle, although this time he proves better at managing his half-skeletal mouth. But your attention is pulled back to the fire. The flames dim the harder you look until settling down into barely lit embers. Perhaps it's your eyes tricking you, but on the hearth's flame, a scene unfolds. There's you, Asterion, and the lounge. It shifts and sways. At times it reverts into an archaic tavern, its floor lined with ceramic tiles, and its walls covered by barrels of aging wine. Then it leaps ahead, to what you can only believe is the future, but it is as if the fire is indecisive. At times you see a classy restaurant and finely dressed patrons, with a wide figure behind the bar. It's a scenic space, but one with an underlining strictness that some could consider stifling. But there is another possibility. A rowdy place, perhaps even lavacious, with a scantily clad man managing it. The kind of place where one would live out unforgettable shenanigans, both disgraceful and re-energizing. These two visions for the lounge seem to struggle against each other. A weight falls on your shoulders. The flame repeats the vision again and again, pushing you to make a choice. The hotel demands an answer. What is your will? What kind of lounge do you want? Okay, so depending on my choice, I will get the first visitor. Well, not the first visitor, the first person to stay. The classy and scenic but strict would mean Coda, who is a dragon. Funny and rowdy and perhaps even horny is Luke, the griffin. Um, I would ask that you guys tell me what you think, like what I should pick, but I'm gonna go with classy and scenic. 'Cause I like Coda. As you make your choice, a scene of finality descends, as if you had broken a seal, or perhaps signed a contract. You are pulled out of your meditation. Asterion looks as well at the fire, unfazed by what happened. I was afraid to be locked in there forever. It kept coming back to me. Was this the fate of the gods? Were they locked away somewhere, stuck and forgotten? Is that why they disappeared? If only I could disobey Master Clement's orders. I would have rammed the door down on the very same day he threw me in. But I couldn't. I cannot disobey the Master. Neither can I disobey you. For all those years I thought, and thought, and thought. There was nothing else I could do, and my body was rotting away. I thought about all that could happen, every little possibility. I wish I could tell you that I dreamed, and indeed at times I allowed myself to hope. But more often than not, I thought about all the bad that could come next, every possibility. It is difficult for me to believe that I am free. At times I catch myself thinking that this must be one of my daydreams. I was certain that you'd send me out to the foreman, and that it would all turn into a nightmare. My stomach was churning. I sat down because I couldn't stay up. When you turn, you are greeted with a new sight. A rebuilt lounge, an afternoon sun outside, and an entirely different Asterion. But it is not a dream. We are here. I just want to get back to my life, my hotel, my guests, voices bouncing down the hallways, food and drink for all, listening to their stories well into the night. At times, I would sneak out during the night while Master Jean-Marie slept. Outside, I'd meet up with a friend, a mathematician from the New World. And we talked on and on about infinity, about the hotel's architecture. We'd bring wine and get way too drunk and rowdy. Then the kitchen staff joined us, and later, the nighttime receptionist. We'd hang out by the kitchen's back door outside, with the radio blaring from inside. We'd listen to the French's songs all night long. I'd summon cigarettes for them. I didn't smoke myself, but I'd return reeking of tobacco. I'd always have to take a bath before Master woke up. And in turn, they'd ask Master Jean-Marie to put me in their crews, and I'd just not do much, just enjoy their company. Spending a day with friends, talking, laughing, not a care in the world. It was a life. I woke up every day knowing my existence had meaning. I had a purpose. It was all I had, and that fiend took it from me. It was like a dream. It was as if all of my past had never happened, and I could live a fantasy of doing something good. Each and every day was a marvel. It was good, and it kept me from the nightmares. It didn't matter if masters treated me well or not, because they were not my life. I had friends, and a reason to be. I wasn't the Minotaur from Crete or some tortured prisoner. I was Asterion, that's all. And chances were that they didn't know what got me put here in the first place. But the dream had to come to an end. It just had to. I died once in Crete, and again when Clement kicked out my guests. All my other deaths, tortured by masters from centuries ago, were small compared to those. It isn't fair. I am a monster. I know my crimes. But what did my guests do? Nothing to deserve being kicked out of their home. We had veterans recovering from shell shock, soldiers still healing from their wounds, refugees from the fronts. We built a purpose from this. No thanks to the gods, and that selfish fiend destroyed it. I am sorry. I forget my place when I drink, Master. This won't happen again. It was awfully out of place. It's fine, though. I gave you permission to speak freely with me, didn't I? And I meant it. If you were bothering me, I would have told you to stop already, so you can relax. I suppose I want to learn more about what you went through. I can only assume times have changed. You are not like the other masters. I'd have been put in my place for this insolence by now. I keep thinking this will all end at any moment now, and that I'll wake back up in that room. Asterion's gaze wanders, and it seems that only now he realizes the vast change in the lounge. The hotel is alive again. But it's not a dream. You'll see it. It may take a while for you to believe me, but it's true. And I meant what I said. I want to be a good master to the hotel, and to you. Asterion's eyes shift away, then back to you. The Minotaur bites his lips. The smallest sigh escapes his lips, followed by him closing his eye. The side of his face wrinkles. He is about to say something. His face goes cold in a nearly professional solemnity, but he stops himself again. One last time he looks at you. I am sure that Master will. His lip trembles for a moment before a smile cracks his face. His voice comes out twisted. The curve of his smile gives his words a tinge of warmth, but his words come out shaken. His voice cracks, and the Minotaur enunciates slowly. There is also an undercurrent of anxiety as his eye shifts to and fro. I am glad that, of all the people there are, you are here, Master Emilio. He looks down, then back to you. Something seems to flash in front of his eyes, which takes away his attention. He sinks in thought. And it is as if he is entertaining an idea. Whatever it is that takes his mind seems hopeful. He bites his lip in want and continues to lose himself in wanting to believe. The smile covers his face first and spreads out to his whole body. This time his voice comes out firmer amidst his smile. Then I repeat my vows. If you are set on caring for the hotel and its guests, and fulfilling its man-made mission, then I will serve you out of my own will. It will be a pleasure to serve you, Master Emilio. There is much about which I would enjoy talking with you. Could I perhaps persuade you to enjoy a drink? You nod and tell Asterion about your favorite drinks. The details of what you say seem to wash over Asterion. He doesn't nod or react as you describe the drink. Instead, his face is taken by a languid joy. Asterion goes behind the new lounge's counter. His hands caress the wood, feeling its smooth, almost sensual texture. He nods without looking at you. Now I can assure you, I will make something quite extraordinary, he says while caressing his beloved hotel. The Minotaur looks at the bottles on the wall. You don't recognize any of the labels. Even if you can guess their contents, it would seem these are all in-house productions. Asterion, however, seems at home. His gaze wanders for only a moment before it gains a knowledgeable tinge. He selects the necessary bottles and sets out to make your drink. He starts by washing a cup. It already shone when the Minotaur picked it up from the counter, as if it had just been polished for its first use, but he insists on doing it. The water is on, and there is even a fresh bar of soap near the sink. It's as if the entire place had just been tidied up by a disciplined cleaning crew. The Minotaur holds onto his smile, eyes half closed, as he runs his fingers on the glassware and all the equipment he will use. He takes his sweet time becoming acquainted with the new environment. Then he pours your drink. At times he shows a bit of clumsiness, no doubt a consequence of downing an entire bottle of wine. Asterion gingerly slides the cup to you on top of a napkin. He finally looks back to your eyes, acknowledging your existence. His voice comes out with the slightest inflection of a smile. I am not quite there yet. I will get better still. I just need some more practice to polish up back to my old self. I rarely ever managed the lounge. I'm acquainted with it, of course, but there were always better bartenders around. But I enjoy it. So soothing, the precision that goes with mixing drinks. Asterion lays his forearm on the counter and supports his weight on it. His tail swishes lazily behind him. I wasn't ever the best cook either. I do well enough to please the master. You will see, but working in the kitchen requires agility. I could spend 10 minutes chopping a single tomato, making sure all the pieces were the same size. Master Jean-Marie had me do exactly that a few times. Cooking is a very intimate thing, Master. Back when Master Jean-Marie was alive, my shifts helping the kitchen staff would amount to, at most, standing in a corner, chopping a few onions per hour. Working with my hands is very relaxing, even if I'm not terribly dexterous. It may surprise you, but I only learned to cook, how to measure ingredients, read recipes, season food, just a few centuries ago. No one taught me how back in Crete, and when I was in the labyrinth, I didn't have much to cook with. Father would send food shipments. No matter, it is improper of me to unload something like that on anyone, let alone Master. Happier subjects abound. The Minotaur turns back and picks out a bottle of wine. It is different from the previous bottles you found. It has a minimalistic label and a more modern shape. Asterion gives you a quick, pensive glance before opening the bottle and taking a long swig from it. What do you talk about next? And that's actually where I'm going to leave it for today. I know I should probably continue, but like I said, I want to keep these episodes around the hour-long mark. So yeah, there's plenty more to come, don't worry. So yeah, we finally have an Asterion that doesn't look like a corpse. He actually looks a little bit better. Although not that much better because a part of his face is still, not completely healed. His eye, for one, is not there yet. And you can't really tell with this colored fur right now. But his other ear that just sort of grew back is furless. So yeah, he still has at least maybe one more wine bottle's worth of regeneration to go. But yeah, anywho. Also, he gets a little bit bigger, which is like really weird to think about. Like if you look at him now, it's like he could actually get bigger than this. Anyways, yeah. It's nice to see Asterion, getting better. And the hotel, I guess. So, what did you guys think? What did you guys think about Argos, the snake that was trying to trick us into signing a contract that would allow him to enter the hotel's grounds? Even though he's not allowed to do that, and, that would break the rules or whatever. I personally don't like him. And originally I had picked the tech perk, like I said in the previous episodes, but I decided to go with leader because I hate the snake and I just wanted to get one over on him. So, and yeah, leader allows you to do that. I think it also allows you to do one more thing when you have to deal with him again. So it works out for me. But anyways, thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Minotaur Hotel yourself, the award-winning visual novel, there will be a link down in the description. And if you would like to support the project, it turns out that there isn't a Patreon, which, I'm surprised. But Nanov actually has a Patreon, and he's the one that does pretty much all the sprites for this visual novel, and I think he does writing for it too, so he's a pretty big part of it. and you might recognize his artwork from a comic that he does called like Boomer and Zoomer, about like an old wolf and like a tiger, and they're like a couple now, but it didn't start that way. So yeah. So yeah, like if you want to follow him and support him, then there will be a link down for his Patreon. But as far as I know, I think they're called Minnow Workshop or something like that. But I don't think that they personally, the whole group that works on this and that works on other projects, I don't think they have a Patreon. But I didn't find one, and I actually went looking for it. So yeah, if there is one, then link me to it. If not, then oh well. And anyways, there will also be a link down for Minotaur Hotel's own Twitter, in case they have other updates. And as far as I can tell, the story is finished, but like there's still stuff that can be added to it because it's still a work in progress. So yeah, I guess we'll find updates if they release anything through there. I wonder if they have a Discord. I haven't checked. Anyways, yeah, but that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.